Welcome One Piece fam to my channel RuthlessRedge Gaming. I usually do Web3 slash cryptocurrency gaming strategy content, but for today's video it's going to be very special. This will be my very first ever One Piece trading card game video. And for today's video we will also be talking about my experience playing in the recently concluded France Toulouse One Piece Regional Championship, where I went 12th in the Swiss out of 249 and lost in the top cut in day 2 against a very, very strong player. This was Mohamed Aboud playing Whitebeard. So this video will talk about that experience. It will also talk about the deck that I used, the deck profile that I had during that tournament, what the prizing was, what I got, placing top 16, and the matchups where I felt all of these amazing decks come at me. I'll talk about each one. It's going to be a very, very interesting video. So stick around and see you soon. Here's the full list. Now let's talk about it one by one. We are running Strawbeard. The reason why we are running Edward Newgate as the leader is mainly because of 6k power with 6 life. That is a lot of defense and offense and cards in one leader. 6 life translates to 6 cards seen throughout your game on top of your natural card row. Compared to others that have 5 life and others that have 4 life, this is huge. You do have the drawback of losing life per turn, but you mitigate that by swinging hard and making sure that when you lose life, your opponent loses life. That means this deck's playstyle is usually you want to defend, you want to counter out of attacks that come in. So that by the turn, you slam your bombs, you are safe and they are sorry and you are getting in for the win or for huge amounts of attacks. Alright, let's start with the core. Now that we're done with the leader himself, with Edward Newgate, with Whitebeard himself. By core, I mean how and why the deck operates smoothly is because of these cards. Firstly, we've got Namis. Namis are great. They are amazing searchers. They look at the top 5 and select any Strawbeard character aside from Nami. Not even characters, actually. There was an errata already. You can also select events off of Nami. So this is huge. There are a lot of targets in the deck that makes Nami very useful. Those targets that actually make this deck run smoother even further are, let's talk about them now, is Frankies and Luffy's. So these are clones of each other. They are 4 cost, have 1k counter power, are both 6k in power itself. So the reason that they are solid is because they don't weaken your leader. The catch of Edward Newgate as a leader is you have a 6k leader, which means your opponent, if they have an option to attack others, they will opt to do so because it takes a lot less tax off of them to attack on those characters. That's the reason why this list doesn't run something like Marco, because you're giving them targets to swing for 5k, which you don't want to. If they're swinging, it's usually going to be cards that have done their effect already, or cards that are removal, and those are the only things on top of the 2k power cards that we have that are in the list. Everything that they attack is gonna tax them. So let's talk about the removal of this deck, which is, let's move this to the side actually, 3 Vistas and 3 Robins. The reason that we're running it with this count is usually you can have 4 Vistas and 2 Robins. The reason we like the 3rd Robin is, first, is it improves your Zoro matchup really well. They love jet pistoling this thing. And aside from that is it actually creates you tempo as well against any of the small creatures or small characters that your opponents can have. Like for example, it can kill Black's blockers, it can kill Green's Momos and Bonnies if they do not have a Nokiku. And it also kills Namis from your Strawbeard mirror match. For Whitebeard, there's not a lot of targets. There are sometimes like their own Vistas as well as their own blockers. but mainly it's not that strong. You usually keep it as counter power for the Strawbeard mirror. But aside from that, it works wonders. It is an amazing threat on turn 3. On the 3 dawn turn, which is turn 2 when you're on the play, and turn 2 as well when you're on the draw. Aside from that is Vista, which is also removal. Whitebeard character doesn't matter for this list. It's just there to KO a 3k power or less. They're the same. Robin needs to attack to trigger it. Vista just comes in to do it. And these are the 6 small creature removals that we run, small character removals that we run. And this forms the core of the list. With this, you're able to have a smooth early game transition, which means you'll have a nice mid game and a strong late game. And that's what we will be talking about further on. So this is the core. This is, I'd say, early game interaction. Next, we talk about our counter power, 2k counters and events. So very simple. Otama is there mostly for 2k counter, but it also has the added effect of going minus 2k, and then you can remove it with Vista, with Robin, or your Whitebeard bomb, which we'll talk about later on. Very strong as an effect, so you usually use this later on. Keep it in hand and then figure out when is the best time to use it. Sometimes you just ditch it as well for 2k counters. Most of the time, actually, you ditch it for 2k counters, but it's just a nice option if you needed to reduce. But because our leader is just so high, it's fine. You can just use it to survive attacks, play Whitebeard, and then you'll be okay. Next is, let's talk about the other functional 2k, which is Makino. Makino here, very strong as well. What she does is you rest it, target a 1 cost, which can be herself, Otama, or Nami, and you give her plus 3k. That means the Nami's gonna swing in for 5k without any additional Dawn, just from a Makino buff. This happens sometimes where I played 2 Makinos and then buff the Nami and swing for big hits. And sometimes it's just there, chillin', being pitched for 2k power. And it's great in both scenarios. And these are the 2 functional 2k characters that we've got. The others, I've never actually used them aside from counter powers. So we've got 4 Brooks and 4 Sanjis. And that makes up our 2k characters. These have effects, but I've never used them technically. I've never had to play them to use their effects. I think I played Brook once, and then it was a problem, so it was okay in the end, but it was quick. It was scary, and then I just never played again that Brook. And that's it for the counter powers. Next we've got are the events, which play the same way. They're just to keep leader alive. The only catch is you need Dawn up. And those cards are Radical Beams, which are here. What they do is they provide plus 4k counter power on whoever is being targeted as long as you have 2 or less life. If you've got 3 or more, it doesn't do the 4k, it only provides you with 2k, which is a bit of a problem if you're using it early on. You just want to use it later on in the game to just survive big attacks with one Dawn. It's amazing with that purpose. The other one is Guard Point. It's just extra copies of Radical Beam that you can use early on. So if they swing at your leader for 8k, you just use 1 Guard Point and prevent an attack. That is the purpose of Guard Point. All of these have triggers as well, which come in handy from time to time, where if you take it off of life and use it, what happens is your leader gets plus 1k. So from 6k, it becomes 7k, which is huge for these kinds of numbers. And with this, that is the defensive pool that runs with our deck. Lastly, let's now talk about the superstars, the bombs of the Strawbeard list. First is, let's talk about the lowest amongst them. In curve, Luffy. 5 cost, 6k power, has rush, so it can attack the turn it comes into play. Very, very strong character. And if you attach 2 Dawn on it, it becomes unblockable. I rarely use that for that scenario. It's just mainly there to have the same life as leader and pressuring the opponent really quickly. That is the purpose of these cards. Next, we've got 2 of Ace. Some lists run 3 or 4. I do like it being a 2 of, because you only need 1 for it to become a blowout. It has rush, it comes in, you target 2 opposing characters, they both get minus 3k. So in green, if you target their big dudes, use this, attack with leader and ace. You just decimated 6k power creatures, 6k power characters with just 1 card. So I do like it. It's a strong card, but at 2 I think it's okay, especially with the 6 life for extra card draw. And the natural card draw, I think we will see an ace every now and then, which is great the turn it comes into play. I don't like it being a 3 of or 4 of, because sometimes I lose games where I just have 2 to 3 aces in hand and then it just doesn't feel good. And lastly, we've got our Whitebeards. Our Edward Newgate characters, 9 cost, 10k power. What it does, it's played in Zoro, the deck list, but in our leader, it does something else on top of what it does for Zoro. So, first, it boosts the leader for plus 2k for the whole turn of your turn that it comes in and the opponent's turn, which means they now have to swing through 8k, which technically is like OP01, how Kid was, where there was an 8k character or 8k leader that was forcing attacks into that. With this, it's the same effect, but at the same time, it prevents life loss from your Whitebeard leader's effect, which means if you have 2 life, you do not fire this effect where you lose a life. Instead, you stay at 2 life, and now the opponent has to deal with an 8k leader and a 10k character that is on the board. And then, for the cherry on top, if you attach 2 Dawns and it attacks, you can kill a 3k or less like a Vista or a Robin attack. So with Otama, it pairs really well to have some nice big swings. Like for example, there's a Marco in play, minus 2k, swing at it, kill the Marco, and it goes through. Amazing, amazing scenarios. And once you do that against Boatbeard, it is the time of your life. And that is our deck list. That is all of our cards. That is our version of Strawbeard. So as Strawbeard, I had a very interesting set of matches during the tournament itself. I played a lot of Zoros. I played against 3 Zoros during this tournament. I won against 2 of them and I lost against the 3rd one. All of these matches I saw my Whitebeards, but at the same time my opponents saw their own Whitebeards. I was able to power through the first 2 Zoro players that I faced against, but when I went into the feature match, I lost. I think it was a feature match curse, and then I lost against a very strong Zoro player. I think I played 2 Whitebeards, and then he played 2 Whitebeards, and then I attacked, and then he followed up attack, and then just ended me. And that was an interesting set of Zoro matches. On top of that, I played against 3 Whitebeard decks. 2 of them were Strawbeards, and I managed to get 1 more Whitebeard aside from my opponent. I was able to survive their attacks on me, and I was able to counterattack for the win with these Strawbeard decks. For the Boatbeard version, I was able to clinch a win as well in the Swiss by him having 1 Marco ready to block, but I played my Otama, reduced it down to 3k, and swang with my big Whitebeard with 9 Dawn attached to it, so that was a 19k swing, killing the blocker and going all in onto the leader that did not have any life left. And I got the win through that. That was a very scary experience because I know that the deck usually struggles against Boatbeard. I did lose to the top 16 later on against another Boatbeard. So technically, I played 2 Boatbeards during this event. Once in the Swiss, which I won, and once in the top 16, which I lost. So, and then aside from that, I also played against Magellan. I lost against Magellan. So my 2 losses were Zoro and Magellan. But because of my tie breaks were quite high, I managed to clinch the 12th place spot. Magellan was tricky, destroying all of my lands, but I managed to survive until the late game. But then in the end, what happened was he just kept destroying my Dawns and swinging. My Whitebeard was too slow to survive, and I think I was Whitebearding on 0 life. And when you're doing that at that point, it's usually lights out. And lastly, I played against a smoker as well. This was not the order that I did play them. It was a random order. I don't remember the exact order. Smoker player was very good, but I managed to clinch the win. So that was all of my 8 matches. I won 6 and lost twice. And that was my matchup experience during this event. Hot topic, let's talk about what I got as prizing during the One Piece France Regionals 2023. So first, normal participation cards. I got a Dawn, a Zoro Dawn actually. I got a random card as well. I believe this is from an extra card for participating as well. And then I got a Charlotte as participant, and I got a Jinbei as well as an extra tournament pack by going to the top 16. So I sold Jinbei and I sold Charlotte in the event's place, and I'm happy with that. And then I kept everything else that I got. So all of this are prizes that I got during that event. This is not from the side event or anything. This is all just by playing in the main event. So I got all 6 finalist offline cards. Each one of them has the text on it that says finalist offline 2023 offline finalist. Some of them have online if you played in the online, and I believe some of them have winner as well, like offline winner and online winner. And I got 6. I got each one of them. Really happy with these. I think this is roughly 150 to 250 each, depending on the card. The Zorodon, I'm lucky. I think that is 100 USD as well. Jinbei and Charlotte participant, I sold for roughly 70 to 80 USD each. And then we got this playmat, which these are all values, by the way, from Card Market. And I got this playmat as well, which says Regionals 2023 finalist. Amazing, amazing playmat. I'm still not sure what to do with it. It's either I'm going to play it or sell it. Still thinking about it. But if I won my match in the top 16, it would have been wild, because I would have gotten a serialized Luffy. And that goes for 4,000 to 5,000 USD. And that was just one best of 3. Imagine this game, just by losing a best of 3, you lose out on that one big prize. But I am really happy. Why? Because this is my first ever physical big event with One Piece, and I went with a money finish. And I'm quite happy with how it played out. So this is what it is. This is what happens when you do fairly well in a One Piece tournament. But what about the offline One Piece tournament experience? Personally, I enjoyed it a lot. I've been to a lot of Grand Prix before in Magic the Gathering, as well as in my Web3 game Axie Infinity. I've been through different countries in Europe as well as in Southeast Asia. A lot of them were fun, but this one was an exciting, amazing experience as well. How so? It's because the community is really kind. Everyone is very supportive of each other. The judges, the players, everyone's just very helpful. The only drawback I could remember was I think we started late. I think we started at around 11:30 with a call time of 9. But that's also because a lot of players did not show up from the ones that were pre-registered, and they allowed people who were there in the vicinity who didn't have tickets to just join and register for the main event. And that was very cool to see. On top of that, there was a day 2 experience as well. You could register for a side event. That was a bit tricky though, because what happened was while we were busy with the tournament proper, people were able to pre-register, which means I wasn't able to pre-register for the big event of day 2 if I wanted to play the day 2. But I was busy with the top cut anyway, so I didn't have focus on that. And aside from that, I met a lot of new people. I technically found a cool set of nakama of crew members basically to join during the One Piece big events. And that is very cool to see. That is something very interesting. I came here with one friend and then I left with a lot more friends, and it was a very, very amazing experience indeed. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button as well as subscribe to our channel. We'll definitely be providing more One Piece content. But on top of that, feel free to check out our other Web3 videos. It's in our YouTube. It's all yours. It's all accessible. It's all free. But for now, this is us. See you again real soon. Boom.